Welcome back to another episode of the Nutrition Science Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Adrian Chavez, and today I want to start off with a story. And this story is going to start with two people. Let's give them some names. Let's say one person is Beth, the other one is Greg. And these two people purchased a car, the exact same car, the exact same model, everything the exact same today, and they are both excited about their new cars. Greg has decided that he wants to invest into upgrading the car to improve its performance. He wants to put a new engine in. He wants to change out the air intake and the exhaust. I don't even know what I'm talking about because I don't know much about cars, but let's say he's making some improvements to the performance of the car. Beth, on the other hand, she doesn't really care too much about that. She's more concerned about maintenance and taking care of the car. So for her, her investments are more in the regular maintenance of the car. Oil changes, tire rotations, regular maintenance that needs to be done in terms of changing fluids. Greg, on the other hand, he's not really too concerned about that. He is investing all of his money and energy into improving the performance of the car. So if you took these two people, Greg and Beth, and you looked at whose car is performing better today, that is going to be Greg. So after he puts all the upgrades into his car is going to run faster. It may turn better. It may perform better in a variety of different ways. However, if we go 5 years from now, that difference in performance may start to be smaller because Greg's car is not as well maintained. He's more focused on increasing performance versus maintenance, and over time, the performance starts to suffer due to not maintaining the car appropriately. On the other hand, Beth, while her performance of her car, she would have lost in a race in year 1 through 5 and probably in year 5 through 10, after that, her car continues to function well as Greg's starts to break down because he wasn't very focused on the actual maintenance of the car. He was more focused on performance and making it go faster, turn tighter, and all of that fun stuff. So you may be wondering what in the world I'm talking about right now. And this is going to lead us into the topic of today's discussion. So you may be wondering what in the world I'm talking about right now. And I think this is going to help lead us in. So you may be wondering what in the world am I talking about right now? And this was meant to set up and lead us into the discussion. So you may be wondering what in the world am I talking about right now? And this story was meant to set up and lead us into the discussion that I want to have today. And the topic of today's podcast is whether exercise or nutrition is more important for health, for disease prevention, and more. And the reason that I set it up with this story is because I use this analogy quite often when I'm talking to clients. I used this analogy just recently when I was having a conversation. And the person that I used the analogy with said it was a really good analogy. And I realized I hadn't really ever talked about this. So I want to go into more detail about how I discuss the differences between the benefits of exercise versus nutrition, and also how I think about which one is, more important, quote unquote. And as anyone is more important, And anyone who listens to this show probably knows already that I'm going to say they're both. And anyone who listens to this show probably knows already that I'm going to say they're both equally as important. We don't want to compare one to the other. But what I want to do today is talk about the differences in the benefits of exercise versus nutrition and how exercise can benefit our health, our well-being, and then also how nutrition can also do the same. And I'm going to tie in this analogy that I just used because I think it's very helpful to understand this. So in this analogy that I just used, Greg is focusing on exercise. And so he is focusing on improving the performance of his car. When we exercise, when we resistance train, we get stronger. When we do cardiovascular exercise, we improve our endurance. When we do yoga and flexibility exercises, we improve our mobility, we improve our balance. We also can improve our strength to a certain degree. So exercise, the major benefit of exercise, one of the major benefits of exercise is it improves the performance of our vehicle. So we have a body, and our body works a certain way. Is that it improves the performance of our vehicle. So our body is our vehicle. When we engage in exercise, we can upgrade our engine. We can improve the exhaust. We can improve the handling of our vehicle. We improve the way that it works. So we can purchase a Toyota Camry, or we can be, not purchased, but born with, we're given a certain set of characteristics based on our genetics, but through exercise, we can upgrade the performance of those characteristics and improve the performance of our vehicle overall so that it works better, so that it provides a better experience in the day-to-day. Because having a higher performance car is just funner. If you upgraded and you had a car that took off faster, that had better brakes, that had better steering, and all of the performance was better, it would be a better driving experience on a day-to-day basis. On the other hand, if you took the individual, Beth, who was more focused on maintenance, wasn't necessarily focused on upgrading her vehicle, but was more focused on what she needed to do in order to preserve its current function. This is more how nutrition works. When we eat more nutritious diet, a lot of the benefits of that more nutritious diet are occurring beneath the surface. And it's not very obvious. It's repairing, DNA breaks, and it's often not obvious at all. So for example, within our body, there's a constant balance of what's called oxidative stress and the generation of what are called reactive oxygen species. This oxidative stress essentially is damage to cells throughout the body. This damage can disrupt the function of those cells. Disrupting the function of individual cells can disrupt the function of organ systems, which can just overall impact our health. And that won't be noticeable in the short term. That will be noticeable over time as these organ systems, these cells, these processes, these functions start to deteriorate over a long period of time when the regular maintenance isn't, over a long period of time when the vehicle owner is not keeping up with regular maintenance. So let's say you never changed your oil, you never, changed out the air filters, you never switched out any of the other important. Let's say you never changed your oil, you never changed your air filters, you never changed out the spark plugs. This is nutrition. Nutrition is providing your body with the building blocks that it needs in order to repair itself, because every single day we are, because every single second there is damage that's occurring and there is damage that's being repaired within our body, and the nutrients that we consume and the overall nutritional quality of our diet is going to impact the way that our body breaks down. And when we eat a more nutritious diet that provides our body with the building blocks that it needs to engage in the self-repair mechanisms that it will engage in when it has the right nutrients, that will help to preserve our vehicle over time. So if you compare the two, Beth is going to have a better car 20 years from now. Greg's car is going to work really well now, and then it's going to break down much more sooner. Greg's car is going to work great now, and then it's going to break down sooner. And it's going to perform better for a shorter period of time. So is that something that you're... And it's going to perform better for a shorter period of time. Now, when we look at the actual human body, it's a little bit different, of course, because when we're exercising, yes, that's upgrading the performance of our vehicle, but that's also helping with some of those self-repair mechanisms as well, because exercise helps to enhance the function of some of those repair mechanisms within our body as well. So it's a little bit different with our body, but um, overall, this is the difference between what we gain from exercise and what we gain from nutrition. Exercise helps to improve the way that our body works. It helps to improve performance. It helps to provide us a better experience on a day to day basis in the way that our body performs and works. And the nutrition can also do that. So, for example, if you were putting really poor gas into a high performing car, it's going to perform slightly lower than it should. It's not going to make a massive difference, though. Like that car will still perform better than the Toyota Camry. So if you're putting, and I don't even know if this would actually work, but if you're putting like regular fuel into a Lamborghini, I'm guessing it's still going to perform, but that performance is going to be hindered. And maybe that's wrong. But if you're putting cheap gas into a very high performing car, that is going to negatively affect the performance. That will still be a high performing car, but it will negatively affect the performance. What's going to happen though is that cheap gas is going to lead to a breakdown of that car more quickly. And that's the important thing. So that's what nutrition does. Exercise will improve the way that our vehicle works. It will improve our day-to-day function. It will improve our strength, our endurance. It'll improve our ability to move around throughout space. It'll improve our balance, our ability to get upstairs, all of that good stuff. Day-to-day physical quality of life benefits. Nutrition is going to, yes, help with the day-to-day stuff. Like if you're eating more nutritious diet, if you're fueling yourself appropriately, you're going to have more energy. You're probably going to be less bloated. You're going to have less, fatigue, brain fog throughout the day. There's going to be a minor improvement in performance or in day-to-day quality of life by changing your nutrition. It will make a difference. Not a huge difference, though. It's not going to make that big of a difference in the short term. You can eat really, really, healthy, and yeah, you'll see a difference. You'll be healthier, but it's not going to just dramatically shift things over the short term. Whereas exercise, you go out and you engage in some exercise for a month, and you can completely change your physical function in a month if you're consistent with some exercise. You can get significantly stronger. You can build significantly more endurance. You can get significantly more flexible in 1-2 months. Whereas nutrition, some of these things take time. And a lot of the benefits of nutrition aren't really seen in the short term. A lot of the benefits of nutrition are seen with a long-term effects because, as I mentioned earlier, every single day we are, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the benefits of nutrition are occurring in the background. So every single day we are doing things that are causing, so every single second there are, so every single minute there is damage that's occurring to your DNA, and there are repair mechanisms that our body uses to repair that damage. But we can eat nutrients, we can eat things through our food that help to protect against that damage. Same thing with tissues throughout the body, not just looking at cancer, but our blood vessels, our liver cells, our kidney cells, our gut, all of our organ systems, all of our tissues, they will benefit from a more nutrient-rich diet, from better nutrition, from having the amino acids, the vitamins, the minerals, the fatty acids that from having the amino acids, the vitamins, the minerals, the fatty acids, and all the other important nutritional building blocks. Our body requires those things. And so nutrition, our body requires those things. So when we look at exercise versus nutrition, and people say, what should I do first or what's more important? Let me answer that question. My opinion on this is, if you're going to do one, and you got to eat no matter what, so you can't not do that, of course, and you can't not move your body. You're going to move to a certain degree no matter what as well. So obviously there's a spectrum here, but if you're going to focus on one, especially with getting started, I would recommend focusing on exercise. And here's why. because it leads to some of those short-term improvements in performance, oftentimes that also motivates someone to improve their nutrition, and that motivation helps to snowball into healthier habits. So motivation is an important driver. We want to see changes, we want to see improvements, and when you start exercising, sometimes you can see some of those improvements pretty quickly, and exercise is easy. So, or easier than nutrition. So with nutrition, if you're trying to build a nutritious diet, there's a lot of stuff to think about: how much protein you're eating, how many total calories you're eating, what types of food you're choosing, if you're going to be kind of what types of foods you're choosing, what you're choosing at the grocery store, whether you're buying organic or not, trying to get enough fiber in. There's a lot of things to consider with nutrition. Whereas with exercise, yes, there are things to consider that can make it more effective. But in general, if you're doing it, you're going to get some benefits. Whereas nutrition, we're all eating, and sometimes you probably won't see any benefits from making changes that aren't very strategic and not well thought out. Whereas with exercise, if you go do a 15-20 minute walk every single day starting today, you're likely going to see benefits after 30 days. And then if you kick it up even further and start to do 30 minutes and you do something a little bit more intense, and you just get something in, you're going to see some benefits from that. So when it comes to simple habits, or the implementation, the simplicity of implementation, in my opinion, exercise is easier. And when we look at long-term health, so when we look at disease reduction, long life. So when we look at long-term health, when we look at the ability to reduce risk of heart disease, Alzheimer's, cancer, and then when we look at the extension of lifespan that occurs from regular exercise versus quality nutrition, there is about the same benefits from quality nutrition habits versus regular exercise. We see about 25-ish, 30% reduction in most major chronic diseases, extension of lifespan by 5 to 10 years when people are regularly doing that throughout their life, and extension of lifespan by 5 to 10 years in some studies when people are regularly doing that throughout their lives. So the benefits, if we wanted to compare one versus the other, seem to be about the same long term when it comes to disease risk and lifespan extension. However, when it comes to disease risk and lifespan extension, like I mentioned, I think exercise is a little bit easier to get started. And also, when you start exercising and when you see those benefits and you feel good after you exercise because you have those endorphins and you get done with the training session and you're feeling good, oftentimes that's enough motivation for people to make healthier choices and to start driving people towards making healthier choices. Because when you feel good, let's say, for example, if you went out and you were driving a car that wasn't that high performance and you went and bought a higher performance car, you would be more motivated to put better fuel in that higher performance car and take better care of it. And we see some of that with exercise. A lot of times people will start with exercise, they get into a routine with exercise, they feel great about it, and that automatically kind of drives them and motivates them to want to change their dietary habits. So for that reason, I motivates them to change their dietary habits. So for that reason, that's why I say that exercise is probably a better place to start. However, they're both important. And they're important for some of the same reasons, but also they're important for, yes, some of the same reasons, but also different reasons as well. And that's why it's important to do both, because if you can improve the performance of your vehicle and then you can preserve its function over time, that's the best solution. Because if you can improve the performance of your vehicle through exercise, and then you can because if you can improve the performance of your vehicle through exercise, and then you can preserve its function over time through quality nutrition and and then you can preserve its function over time through quality nutrition, that's the best place we want it. And then you can preserve its function over time with quality nutrition, that's where we want to be. So that's where we want to be. So I hope this that's where we want to be. That's where we want to be. So short episode for this. That's where we want to be. So that's all I have for this episode. This is a shorter episode. I was having this conversation. I felt like it was a. So that's all I have for this episode. This is a shorter episode. I was just having this conversation earlier today. It is something that. So that's all I have for this episode. It's a shorter episode. I was just having this conversation earlier today. It's something that was on my mind. I thought it was a useful thing to discuss and wanted to bring it here on the podcast. So I hope this was helpful. Again, I know this was a little bit shorter than and wanted to bring it on the podcast. I know this is a little shorter than and wanted to bring it on the podcast. So I know this was a little bit shorter than our normal episodes, but I hope it was. So I know this was a little bit shorter than a normal episode, but I hope this information was helpful. And I might pop on here and do some shorter episodes as well in the future. So I hope this information was helpful, and I might pop on here and do some shorter episodes in the future. Let me know what you think about this episode, and if we have good feedback, I might do some of these shorter, quick hitter. And if there's good feedback, I might incorporate some of these shorter, quick episodes where I'm just discussing a specific. And I might do some of these episodes, and I might incorporate some of these shorter episodes where I'm quickly discussing a topic that's on my mind. And I might incorporate some of these shorter episodes where I'm quickly discussing a topic on my mind that I think may be helpful. So you can do that by going to the nutritionsciencepodcast.com and leaving a. You can do that by going to the nutritionsciencepodcast.com and leaving fan mail, or you can do so directly through Spotify if you listen to it there. But if you're listening to it on Apple, you'll have to go to the website to leave me feedback on this podcast. You can also leave it on YouTube as well. If you're watching there, if you want to go watch there, you can leave feedback there as well. But I would really appreciate it. I'd like to know how you guys are enjoying the various episodes that we're releasing. But I would really appreciate it. It helps me to get feedback on the episodes. But I would really appreciate it. It helps me to get feedback on the episodes and know. But I would really appreciate it. It helps me to get feedback on the episodes and know what you guys are liking. But I would really appreciate it. Helps me to get feedback on the episodes and know how I can improve and make. But I would really appreciate it. It helps me to get feedback on the episodes and know how I can continue to improve to make this podcast better. Hope you all have a great week. All right, so that's all I have for today. Hope you all have a great week, and we will talk soon.